Yes.
What other questions do you have?
Will this be timed? Are we like 3 minutes, 2 minutes answers?
The answers are gonna be timed. Mostly it'll be 1-minute answers, but we'll tell you in our instructions.
Okay.
Some are 30 seconds.
Yeah, there are some 30-second
30
answers
seconds?
as well.
But most are on minute.
Oh, okay.
Read it in, Nate, we'll have the time
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
So you'll see a countdown
You
time
Okay.
here on the
can't see it right
screen.
now, but they'll have a big clock.
Got you. A nice big
You'll
clock.
hear the
All
same
right.
instructions.
Okay.
Okay.
And then when it
So
gets,
yeah, sing the 3-pointer before the buzzer goes off, so.
so you'll see the
A
time
trap
countdown
door
here on the
floor
screen.
will
Okay.
open
And then there'll be
something,
an
just
alarm.
fall through if you-
Boom.
A lot, okay.
That'll
Now
let you know that
that
time's
is,
up.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
All right. If you need more water, there's water over here too. Both gonna do great.
You know that. You know they will. We just appreciate them being here.
Yes.
I think at 5 minutes before, I will turn the live stream on.
Okay. we're just gonna be a little awkwardly standing in front of you while we get introduced.
All right, I'll try to hide
Blocking
that.
your view.
I'll try to hide, that'd be nice.
Everything seems ready.
Why don't you tell us when to go, Dustin? Okay?
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Youngsma, publisher of the Lansing Journal. Welcome to the Thornton Township Candidate Forum, co-hosted by 3 local newspapers, the Lansing Journal and the Harvey World Herald and the Homewood Flossmoor Chronicle. We have Eric Crump of the Chronicle and Amethyst Davis of the Herald, and Carol Schwargo is here as one of the moderators for the Lansing Journal. All 3 of us are within Thornton Township, and we support each other's work. We decided to host this forum together as a way to mutually serve our readers with reliable election information. This forum is different from the previous one the Journal hosted for Lansing voters in that no members of the public are present in the room with us. The public is attending virtually, and we encourage the candidates to feel free to address the audience through any of the cameras you see, even though it may be awkward not to have that two-way interaction. At the time when we had to make arrangements for this forum, there was a lot of uncertainty about who and how many might be participating, so we chose to minimize the possibility of chaos by keeping the audience virtual. Our townships are served by 8 elected officials, a supervisor, 4 trustees, an assessor, a clerk, and a highway commissioner. Those elected officials all serve 4-year terms, so every 4 years they are all up for re-election. This forum is focused on the supervisor and trustee candidates because they are the voting members of the board, which is the decision-making body of the administration. The goal of this forum is to allow Thornton Township voters to hear the candidates in their own words about the issues Thornton Township is facing and the options for addressing those issues. We will be starting with the supervisor candidates, and then we'll take a short break and bring in the trustee candidates for a separate forum around 5:30 p.m. There are 4 candidates running for Thornton Township Supervisor this year. 3 will appear on the ballot: Nate Fields, Napoleon Harris, and Richard Nolan. 1 is an official write-in candidate, Tiffany Henyard. We extended an invitation to all 4 of these supervisor candidates. Nate Fields and Richard Nolan accepted our invitation. The others did not respond. Nate Fields is running for office for the first time. He is running for supervisor as an independent candidate. Nate is an entrepreneur and a former Thornton Township employee. Richard Nolan is certified in municipal law and governance with experience in municipal finance and administration. He is a former village trustee in Riverdale, a village within Thornton Township, and he is former vice president of School Board 133 in Riverdale. The questions we will be asking these candidates come from our experiences as journalists covering not just township news, but also the news of our individual communities. And we invited community members to submit questions, and those are worked into the mix as well. The candidates have not been provided any of the questions ahead of time. This is a forum, not a debate, so not every candidate will answer every question. The moderators will be clear about who is being asked to provide an answer. Candidates have a time limit for their answers, and they will be able to see the timer as it counts down. Our moderators for the supervisor section of the forum will be Carol Schwargo from the Journal and Eric Crump from the Chronicle. Thank you, candidates, for taking on the challenge of running for public office and for making yourselves accessible to Thornton Township voters through this forum. Let's begin.
Good afternoon, candidates.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You'll be introducing yourself as a candidate all afternoon. Well, at least for the next hour. But let's start with introducing yourself personally. Please talk about who you are, what you do for work, your family, etc. You'll each have 1 minute. Up first is Nate Fields.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Nate Fields. I'm a candidate running for Thornton Township Supervisor. I am a father of two. I have a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. I'm a resident of South Holland, Illinois. I lived in Thornton Township for over 20 years. And currently I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a photographer. I manage websites. And I work for myself, so I'm self-employed. Currently seeking a position for the residents of Thornton Township. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nate. And now Richard Nolan.
My name is Richard Nolan. I'm the account man. First of all, I'm a father of 4. I've been living in Thornton Township for about 45 years. My name is Richard Nolan. I'm an account manager for Azar Transportation Company. I am an ordained minister with the Universal Kingdom of God, House of Israel. I am the former vice president of School District 133, George S. Patton. I won 2 terms, and I served those terms successfully. I'm also the former municipal official for Village of Riverdale. I served a 4-year term, and I just wanted to be involved, wanted to be engaged, and so I decided to run for these offices. I want to be able to serve in a capacity to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you both. Next, we have 2 different affiliations here. Nate is running as an independent. Richard is running as a Republican under the People's Choice for Change banner. We wanted Nate to go first, and you used to be very involved in Thornton Township Young Democrats. We're wondering why you're running as an independent now, and you have 1 minute to let us know what your
All right.
decision was.
So the question was, why am I running as an independent? I've spent a great deal of my career supporting the Democratic Party under the leadership of Frank Zuccarelli. While it was a great learning experience for me, I've started to understand a little bit of the differences between the 2 parties. Some of the ideas and morals that the Democratic Party run on, I am not too supportive of. For instance, I don't believe that residents within Thornton Township should come to any political servant for their needs all the time. I think that we should be empowering our constituents to be able to serve and provide for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Mr. Nolan, we have a different question for you. The Republican Party is traditionally not very visible in Thornton Township. It's a blue territory. In fact, your campaign materials sort of underplay the mentioning Republican Party, and therefore you have People's Choice for Change as your main slogan. We're wondering what case you can make for why Thornton Township should consider voting red versus blue.
The question is, one of the things that which attracted me to the Republican Party was the Judeo-Christian foundation. If you got strong families, you have strong communities. And some of their values, I can align that with my religious views. So this is one of the things that attracted me to the Republican Party. And I do want to say this, that the People's Choice for Change, we have extended our umbrella to the independents and to the Democrats. So we formulated what we call the advisory board that's going to work in conjunction with the legislative body. So we're not isolating, but we are including. So if you take titles aside, and we all want goods, services, contracts, and jobs, and my goal is to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the role of Thornton Township Supervisor. Nate Fields, you have a lot of experience specific to Thornton Township. Richard Nolan, you have a range of experience with local elected offices. Nate, we'll ask you first. Historically, the culture in Thornton Township has been to allow the supervisor to run things on the board. What is your understanding about the relationship between the supervisor and the trustees sitting on the board?
We are a team, okay? Although the supervisor manages the meetings, we all have to work together at the end of the day to make sure the constituents are put first. Although I would be the supervisor, I do understand that there's a certain protocol. There are certain things that we have to abide by. There's rules that are enforced and policies that we have to go by. Although it seems that I'm the leader, the residents of Thornton Township are the people that we have to look to for and put first. But yeah, I know that the past 3 years, everything has been changed around and confusion has been put first. But I do understand that there's a triangle that we need to flip back around and put the people first. And I'm looking forward to serving the residents within Thornton Township and putting our residents first.
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, the same question to you. The relationship between supervisor and trustees.
Yes, you have to have a good relationship, but you also have to be able to be a leader in order to work in conjunction and bring the trustees and the supervisor under one umbrella. The township supervisor is the chief executive officer. He is the chairman of the board. His job is oversight. He covers general assistance, the treasury department. He covers the road and bridge fund. He is to be the voice of the people. And by me working in that capacity as the president, vice president of the school board, also as Mr. Official, I worked with trustees before. I worked with different committees within the municipality. For example, the fire commission, the police commission, human community relations commission. So a variety of different commissions that I worked as chairman. So this is just something that's not new to me. Thank you.
Mr. Nolan, go ahead and stay up there. We'll start with you for this next question.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of related.
Mm.
Where would you introduce more checks and balances into township management systems?
One of the things that, in order to well, one thing when I put my ticket together, I incorporated selected trustees with particular background. For example, we have Carl, his background is sales, executive management. We have Tim DeYoung, his background is in IT and in technology. We have Keisha Richardson, her background is in corporate finance. So the team that I selected all came with a particular background and a specific skill set, so we can make a difference within the Thornton Township.
Thank you. If that's all, then we'll ask Mr. Fields to answer the same question. Where would you introduce more checks and balances in the township management system?
When will I introduce? This will happen right away. There's no time to waste. We have to conduct an independent financial audit and see where our money is. And moving forward, we have to make sure we have checks and balances, like you said. We need to put caps. We need strict financial oversight. In each department within Thornton Township, the overall goal is to make sure that no money is wasted. Now, over the years, there's been a lot of mismanagement of funds, and I get that. But we have to make sure we're putting what's being spent out there for our taxpayers to see, so they know that we're being responsible with their funds and they're going to the right places and not being mismanaged. I hope that answered your question. All right.
Mr. Fields, if you could stay up there right now. According to public records, there's a little bit of information here in this question. According to public records, the current supervisor salary is at least $241,000, more than 300% higher than the average salary of a Thornton Township resident. at least 5 other Thornton Township employees make 6-figure salaries. Do you have plans to address the irony of low-income taxpayers funding these extreme salaries for public servants whose jobs there are to provide community support and assistance?
I do have plans to address that. I don't need a 6-figure salary. As long as I'm able to pay my bills, that's okay with me. As far as any of the other positions, I don't think it's necessary either. I think that the ones that are getting this type of salary, it's time for them to train some new employees or anyone interested in the position, so we can start all over and incorporate some fresher minds, new constituents in the positions, so we can train them up and prepare them for a role. But the salary is too much. It's too much on taxpayers. I don't think it's necessary, and I think that's something we got to work towards, getting those salaries intact, because nobody, not a public servant, doesn't need to make $200,000. It's taken away from the taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
No problem.
Mr. Nolan, the same question to you. Talking about addressing some of these very high salaries among township employees and the supervisor's position as well.
I agree that we do need to look at it. I think one of the issues that they had with the previous administration, that the pay scale was not balanced. They had a adjustment pay scale based on when you were elected. My feeling is that it should be the same salary across the board. If it's $100,000, is that what the job requires? Then that's what it should be. If it's a trustee's position, if it's $50,000 a year, it should be across the board. If you're doing the same job, you deserve to get the same pay. Now, us being the stewards of finances, we will look into these areas, and I will work with the board and the trustees to come up with a comprehensive plan to address these issues. And so we're definitely part of the solution, not part of the problem. The people's choice for change. Thank you.
Mr. Nolan, if you could stay at the podium for a second. I have a question for you, and then Carol's going to have a different question for Mr. Fields. So this is a 30-second response, please. Currently, there's a culture of distrust within Thornton Township and between the township and the community. What are some specific ways that you plan to restore trust within the government, the employees, and the residents?
Well, the first thing I plan on doing is hiring a procurement officer. His job is to manage, look over credit cards, RFQs. His job is to make sure that it's equal balance in each department when it comes to finances. So if we look at $5,000 that they want to spend in a particular department, it has to go to the procurement officer. His job is to manage anything that's dealing with the RFQs, credit cards, and stabilizing those departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fields, now a question for you. And just like the last one, you'll have 30 seconds this time.
Okay.
If you're elected supervisor, what innovations can we expect from you during your tenure?
Okay. If elected, I will work with the trustees to develop a Thornton Township engagement app that will enable residents to see where the funds are in Thornton Township. It's time over for mismanagement. We need a system where residents can go in and see what the funds are looking like, where their taxpayers' dollars are going towards, and put a focus on the necessities of the constituents of Thornton Township.
You can stay up. I have a question
Okay.
for you, Mr. Fields. For the same question for both of you, actually. What do you still need to learn in order to be an effective supervisor if you're elected?
What do I still need to learn?
A 30-second answer this time.
Yeah.
I think that I still need to learn. There's always something new to learn. I think we should focus more on the future. We don't talk about the future enough, where our community is headed. we need to look forward into where we need to be as a township and what steps we need to take to get to where we need to be within the next 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, if you could respond to the same question, what do you need to learn in order to be an effective and responsible supervisor?
First of all, the township officials of Illinois have an educational series that the supervisors can go and get education, training. They have these different conferences to make you more aware of the current laws, current ordinances, things that could help benefit the community. So they have what they call the duties and responsibilities of the Thornton Township supervisor and the trustees. So I plan on being involved with other supervisors. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Fields, would you take the first crack at this next question? We talked about the role that you would play as supervisor, and now we want to shift to a little bit to the township itself. And we wondered, there's 21 states in the U.S. that have civil townships, which are subdivisions of counties, and some of them function differently depending on the place. What do you think should be the priorities of Thornton Township?
For me, the priority is we're a community and we communicate, but there's no unity. Thornton Township is the largest township in terms of population. So we have a lot of people in this small 14 by 14 mile radius. But we have to bring everyone together on the same page so we can unite. And that's where the Thornton Township Community Engagement app comes into play. So we're all united under this one hub that understand one thing. Thornton Township is home, and that's where we all work together in.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Nolan, what do you think about the top priorities of the township in the context of township governance?
Well, the top priority is financial fiscal management. We must develop long-term financial plans to ensure long stability. And we do that by bringing in other people that can add to what your program is as far as dealing with finances, goods, services, contracts, and jobs. I worked in conjunction with the Department of Commerce for the state of Illinois with former Director Ann Dorr. I want to be able to work with her and also to work with the Chamber of Commerce and to collaborate with them to have a yearly program to deal with employment, stability, and expanding. I've done this before. We held one of the largest job fairs in Cook County history in the village of Riverdale, and I was a part of putting that together. So we definitely want to work with the Chamber of Commerce. We want to work with the state of Illinois and other communities within our township. Thank you.
Mr. Nolan, if you could go ahead and stay up at the podium, thank you. Kind of a simpler question, two-parter though. What do you think Thornton Township does well? What are some things that the township can do better?
Well, I think that the township, the residents, the community wants a better government. And I think by them getting involved, that engagement is there. One of the things that I think that we should do is to be creative in our thinking, to be able to bring different factions together, to talk about economic development, and have an open door policy. That's what I would like. And we pretty much don't see that there. It's just one way or the highway. There's no structures. It's chaotic. We want to bring some stability to the Thornton Township. And we do that by bringing in the job fair, bringing in the professionals to work in conjunction. It's not about individual success, but collective and community success. Nobody has all the answers, but we're definitely going to strive for perfection. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Fields, the same couple questions to you, talking about what does the township do well and what are some things it can do better?
Well, the township, what the township does really well is focus on our seniors. We provide excellent service for our seniors, and our seniors are pretty good at responding to events and showing up. But what we could do well or better is being creative, okay? I think that's something that we're missing in our community, creative ways to engage our youth within the township, because we have a lot of families, but we don't have many services for for our young people. You know, we don't have many resources for them. But we can come up with new creative ways to get them involved in our community so they have other things to do. That's one thing. Me growing up inside of Thornton Township, there wasn't much for us to get involved in. Although there was school, you know, we have libraries, but where can they go to get away and just be in a different environment that's safe, you know, out of harm's way, and protection, add a little protection for them. But I think that's something we should definitely be more creative.
Thank you. The next couple questions, we're going to pitch the question, and either one of you can offer to answer it first by raising your hand. Some people say the township system is an unnecessary layer of government. You've probably heard that before. That's an old question, but it's one we got to keep answering. So there's been proposals even to abolish townships altogether, and we're wondering, how do you defend the value of townships as a form of government?
Well, if you look townships up, its focus was primarily on those in need, okay, the indigenous people. But if we were to abolish townships, what would that mean? Does that mean those in need would now have to struggle even more? Does that mean more crimes, more desperate people, more people looking to break into people's houses for food and finances? I think that it's very necessary for the largest township in the state of Illinois, in terms of population, to at least hold its ground for those that may need it. But for me, the overall goal is to make people more self-sustainable and give everyone an opportunity to start to trust in each other again.
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, do you want to take a crack at that one? How do you defend the value of the township as a form of government?
Well, we don't have to, we can go within our community for mental health services. Anyone that the seniors need to go to the hospital, to the clinic, we can provide that service. They don't have to go to the CTA. When you're dealing with the death in the family, they can go to the township and get some financial assistance. If they're in the need of rent assistance, they could come to the township. We don't have to go outside our community. We could come within our community. And let me just say this, that the Thornton Township is one of the townships that has pretty much the highest taxes of 3.9% versus other with 1.9%. So we want to maximize those tax dollars by providing these services, dealing with mental health, dealing with assistance, burial assistance, and a variety of different areas that they can get right there in the township. It is a benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. This is another question that you can choose to answer. Just raise your hand or come on up to the podium. Thornton Township represents 17 municipalities. So these are villages and towns within the township. How can you collaborate with some of these municipalities, their leaders, and also community organizations, such as church food pantries or local businesses and nonprofits, to provide some of these services maybe more efficiently? Mr. Nolan, you're first, please.
One of the things my board we talked about was an ambassador. The ambassador of the Thornton Township will visit the library meetings, go to the park meetings, go to the municipal meetings, go to every government body meetings and let them know what services that we provide and to get more involved and get engaged. So a Thornton Township ambassador, that would be their part-time job, is to get engaged, get involved, go to some of the areas that have not been engaged in. We see a lot of Harvey, we see a lot of Dalton, but we don't see Polson. We don't see Burnham as much. We don't see East Hazelcrest. So the ambassador's job would be able to go out to these various municipalities and introduce herself and get more involved, engaged, and come back and give the board supervisor a report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nate Fields, would you like to answer this one as well?
Yes. Similar to what Mr. Nolan just said, Thornton Township, used to have a group of government liaisons that would go to the various village or cities board meetings and bring back a report. Okay, it was about 15 members in that group. That is something I'm willing to continue because we need to know what's going on in each village or town. Furthermore, I believe that Thornton Township needs to expand the community relations department because I believe that we should be going out to reach our constituents, not them coming to us, okay? We have to focus on figuring out the needs of our constituents, getting involved in the schools, the churches, seeing how we can help, seeing how we can provide our services to those in need. We have various businesses out here, such as the new casino, the new Amazon, of course it's not that new, but the Amazon Fulfillment Center. Maybe we can reach out to say, hey, you know, you may have employees that could use our services and do like a collaboration with them. So.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Moving on a bit. As the supervisor, you would be the person in charge of employees while you conduct the township's daily operations. You would also preside over the board meetings, setting the tone and managing the agenda. So let's talk about your management style. Richard Nolan, Mr. Nolan, you will be first. Do you have experience managing employees, and what kind of management style have you found to be most effective in the workplace? You have 1 minute.
Yes, yes. I've, as a municipal official and working with the Board of Education, I help to work with the faculty. I have to work with the superintendent. I've also been very active with the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. I worked in collaboration with the Ministers Conference of South Cook County. I was the director of having politicians to come. So my job was to facilitate having that position. So being able to work in those capacity gives me a huge advantage because I've done it for like 12 years. So that is extremely important to have experience, to be able to be involved in union negotiations, to be involved in hiring and firing, be involved in conducting meetings. I have that experience on both levels, the municipal level and on the school board level. So normally you manage hundreds of employees, but I've learned to do very well in that arena. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nate Fields, the same question to you about your management style in the workplace.
Okay, I did manage a department at South Suburban College. I was the manager of student life and leadership, where I had several student workers and an assistant. Now, I've learned that my management style is a little bit different. I like to find individuals' skill level. Where do they stand out at? And see how it could be useful in the workplace, rather than tearing them down for what they can't do. I think that's very crucial and important that you understand each person as an individual and what their strengths are. Furthermore, my leadership style within Thornton Township is putting the people of Thornton Township first, because that's, at this point, our main priority. I think we lose touch and think that since you're an elected official, that you should be put first, but I think we got some changes to make to change that around.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. You can go ahead and stay up at the podium if you don't mind, and
Okay.
Eric's got a question for you.
Cool.
This has got to do not with managing employees, but with getting along with other officials in the organization. The trustee and clerk and other officials may be from different parties and may have different affiliations and positions and styles. Given that we're in a very, I guess, difficult time, there's a lot of polarization, how do you plan to get along with the different people you may be working with on the board?
It's a very good question. I'm very interested in seeing what trustees we have on our board. But I've already started to gauge them a little bit. I've been out at the library every day since the start of early voting. I'm noticing what trustees come to pass out their literature. I'm already starting to prepare who's the hardest worker, who's showing up, how they speak to residents, if they care about the residents. So I look forward to, once elected, working forward with our newly elected trustees, engaging their skill levels, what their interests are, and how we can move forward together. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr. Nolan, same question. If you're elected supervisor and you have a board of trustees with a lot of different people, different positions, and maybe some conflicting interests and positions, how do you work together with everyone?
First of all, my background, I originally started as a Democrat, and I've also been in a position as an independent, and now I am Republican. And what we have formulated that we put together with the advisory board to bring other factions together so we can be a family at one as a whole. The important was that to bring everybody to the table, whether you're a Democrat, independent, or Republican. If you take titles aside and put that aside, what do we all want? Goods, services, contracts, and jobs. And let me remind you that Thornton Township is just a large social service agency. We all want to come together and work together. So the Republicans represent responsibility, the Democrats represent independence, and then we have the oversight, which is the independent. So all three into one, we become a force to be reckoned with. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nolan, if you could stay at the podium for us. Thank you for all the switching, gentlemen. We appreciate it. A question for you about the last 3 years and moving forward from those. In the last 3 years, those of us observing Thornton Township board meetings have witnessed lapses and even full breakdowns in decorum and process. We want to know more about how you would run a meeting, and specifically, what would you do if a meeting started to spin out of control?
First of all, they need to have a sergeant of arms. They kind of keep the balance there. They're like the policing agency, that's on the board. Number two, I would adopt the Roberts Rules of Order. They don't have that. So when you look at the meetings, they're kind of all over the place. But most of the governing bodies, whether you are a municipal government, whether you are the park district or the library, all of them pretty much go with the Roberts Rules of Order. So that would be what I would install on day one, to adopt the Roberts Rules of Order, also to get a sergeant of arms. Also to go over prior to the meeting that we should act in a professional way with etiquette and decorum, and we have to respect everybody's rights. And as a leader, you set the tone. If the leader is out of control, it's going to spread like wildfire. So you got to be calm, cool, and collective.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And Mr. Fields, the same question to you about running a meeting, and what would you do if a meeting spun out of control?
If a meeting spun out of control, now that's very broad, okay? I do agree with Mr. Nolan. We do need to adopt Robert Rules of Order. I did get my Open Meetings Act certificate, so I do know that there's a certain protocol for how meetings are handled. But if meetings were to spiral out of order, we will have to take a quick minute, because I understand emotions get high when certain decisions are being made, especially at a time like this where we're about ready for a change and people are fed up. But we have to take a deep breath and allow members of the board to express their concerns, and then I will be there to mediate and figure out those concerns, and we'll get through it that way. Okay.
Thank you. This question is for either of you who'd like to answer. Talking a little bit as well about what's happened in the past 3 years, how Thornton Township has become it's been put on the national and even international stage for some negative reasons. How can we strip back the hype and refocus the township on what matters?
Well, what matters? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Okay, I think what matters is that we're a community again, and I think that should be one of the main focuses of our Thornton Township. Since we're on the national scale now, I think its potential to start to bring in tourists and more revenue into our community. I feel like we started to lose touch of community when we started to turn South Suburban College from Thornton Community College. I think there's potential to make Thornton Township a stepping stone or a spot that people would be happy to call home. Because for a long time, I think that a lot of people living in Thornton Township are starting to move out and not really like their community. But I think that we could create more of a tourist attraction, you know, sell Thornton Township apparel, get involved in our schools, Thornton, Thornwood, Thornridge, TF North, TF South, and start to create more of a family type environment.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Mr. Nolan, yes. What about all this hype? How can we get past it, refocus?
You cannot build a new house with old bricks. You got to clean house. Now, if you look at the chaos that's going on, many of these people are what I call interlopers. They're a clique, they're a group. So one group will get mad at this side, the other side get mad at this side, and then they come to the meeting and it explodes. The People's Choice for Change, the Republican Party, we have clean hands. We have good backgrounds. We're not a part of this fiasco. So when you bring in the professionals, that's going to bring our reputation back. People will say that these people have gotten their house in order. And I want to say this here, that if you look at my ticket is universal. It's collective. Everybody's involved. So I want to be able to represent all communities within the Thornton Township, the black, the brown, and the white. And I come with the same philosophy of Dr. King. We have to work together as brothers or perish as fools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. The issue of fiscal responsibility is an important one in any government, and it's risen to major importance in Thornton Township in recent years. So we wonder if you could talk a little bit about financial management and transparency. I've got Mr. Nolan first, if you would. Some have called for a forensic audit of the township's finance to go back several years. Others argue that for a forensic audit, it will be spending a lot of money that may be better used looking forward. What's the value of looking back financially, and how far?
Well, sometimes you got to go back to your roots in order to find out how you got there, and you won't repeat that. I think that most of us want to do at least a 8-year audit, go back and see how the money was spent, who, what, where, and why. Now, we know the problem. We all know the problem. But what is the solution? The solution is to hire a corporate loss prevention manager. A corporate loss prevention manager, his job is to look for abuse financially, any alleviation or using gas, or any kind of losses within the township. The corporate loss prevention manager, that would be his department. So he would look at abuse of credit cards, any kind of gas abuse, mismanagement of the finances. So the corporate loss prevention manager would be someone that I would definitely hire. So we have a policing agency within the Thornton Township.
Thank you. Mr. Fields, what's your position on the question of whether to do an expensive forensic audit and how far back you would go?
I think we should go back as far as we possibly can, because seeing that the new township supervisor's salary is going to be different, the whole spending in general is going to be different. For instance, the Christmas program, in which I've known the township to spend about $100,000 on gifts during Christmas season. That's a lot of money to spend, but if we take it back and say, hey, this is a new supervisor, we may have more money to spend, but the goal is to be creative about how we're bringing our community together. So instead of spending $100,000 on gifts, brand new gifts for residents, how about introducing a toy recycling program so that the community can bring gifts from their kids or old toys to us. We pop new batteries in it. you know, clean them up. And, you know, kids don't care if they're brand new or not, as long as it's new to them. I think we'll save a lot of money that way. But we need new ideas to figure out how we can save money on taxpayers. Of course.
Thank you. You've both kind of touched on this a little bit. Mr. Nolan, we'll start with you. How will you reassess the budget moving forward into the new administration? And what other steps would you suggest are needed to ensure the township's future financial health?
One of the things that we would do, we would look at each department, what they're spending. And once we know what they're spending, we can look at it and see, is there any additional funds that could be used for other different programs. The general assistance funds is roughly about $13 million. We would look at that, our team would look at that and see how can we maximize any additional funding out of that to fund another program within the township. We would look at the administration department. That's another $6 million. So we would look into that department, see was there any money that's left over, or any deficit that we could benefit off of. And also we look at the clerk, we leave her alone, cemetery, and the other areas that we would look at that we can bring some things together. And I also want to bring in 3 grant writers full-time, so we can have additional money for additional programs. So that way it won't be on the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nate Fields, the same question to you. What steps can you take as a supervisor to ensure the financial health of the township?
I think it's important that we establish an annual action plan, a 4-year plan that gives us the opportunity to see where we are now and where we want to be. But we can't do anything until we plan ahead and see where we want to be as a township financially.
If that's all, Mr. Fields, I have another question for you. Also to do with finances, but it has to do with how the public gets access to financial information. I mean, there's been some criticism of the current administration not making that kind of information available in a way the public can easily access it. So do you have ideas for how to improve public access and transparency?
I do. I have an idea to develop a community engagement app. Now, within this app, you'll be able to do many things, but virtually we're putting Thornton Township in the hands of our taxpayers. So they'll be able to see where money is being spent and what the budget is looking like for each department within this app. Other than that, they'll be able to see what events are happening within the community, emergency alerts, school closures, and so forth. We'll improve along the way and add updates. But the main purpose is to put it to be more transparent and accountable, to show the residents that we're doing the right thing. But I'll stop there, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, what are your ideas about improving transparency and access to financial information?
The first thing we have to do is to hire a certified FOIA officer, Freedom of Information officer. That would be his or her main job. So when FOIAs come in, they have a certain allotment time to respond to the residents' requests, regardless of what it is. If it's salary, if it's budget, who's fired, who left, what are disciplinary records, there may be some stipulation with that. But the FOIA officer, that would be their job. So when they come in, they say, I want to know about A, B, C, or D. The FOIA officer takes that information and he gives the residents what they need and what they want. If they don't comply, we fire them, get rid of them, and we bring in people that are competent. People have to be held accountable. You have to have leadership that knows how to bring in the right people to put the right puzzle together so the Thornton Township can move progressively forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, you can stay at the podium if you will. This is actually our last question for the evening, and then we will have you both offer closing statements. Time flies when you're having fun. Are you in, this is a very specific kind of financial question. Are you in favor of establishing a central requisition and purchasing department, and I think you've mentioned this already, sir, to eliminate the use of multiple credit cards by township department heads?
Well, that's when I went back to the procurement officer. His or her job is to manage credit cards. So if you got 5 department heads and they limit maybe $10,000, if it exceeds that, everything has to go to the procurement office, everything. So you don't have just reckless spending within each department. So that procurement officer is part of our platform. We're going to bring in a procurement officer. His job is going to be able to manage the credit cards. His job is going to be to manage who's buying gas. His job is going to be to manage who's buying inventory, where inventory is coming, who's accountable for it. It's not the supervisor's job to hold that position. It is the procurement officer's job. If you look at the county, they have a procurement officer. He handles RFQs and other credit cards, anything dealing with finances, anything dealing with merchandise. So that's part of our platform. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Fields, the same question. Are you in favor of establishing a central requisition and purchasing department to eliminate the use of these multiple credit cards within the township?
Yes, I think there should be one credit card for the township, and the supervisor should have it. That holds the supervisor accountable. And for any department that needs to utilize the credit card, then the supervisor would take full responsibility for giving that action. It keeps everything in one line on one document, and I believe that it holds the supervisor, again, accountable. And I think that's very important, that we keep everything inclusive instead of just various multiple credit cards.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for the time that you've spent here, providing thoughtful answers to our questions, the ones that are on our minds and on the minds of community members. It's now time for your closing statements. You'll each have 1 minute and 30 seconds. The time is yours to use for whatever you want your closing statement to be. But we encourage you to keep this question in mind as you form your answer. Why would Thornton Township be better if you were elected supervisor? We'll go in alphabetical order. Nate Fields, you're first.
All right, residents of Thornton Township. I started my career at age 18, 16 years ago at Thornton Township. From the ZAP lawn care to the tax refund specialist to administrative assistant to maintenance and then community relations media specialist. I've learned a great deal of working for the residents of Thornton Township. It's pretty much all I know. But I think we should focus now on the future, all right? It's time to change gears here. It's time to get our young men involved, our young women involved, and someone for our future leaders to look up to. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be Thornton Township supervisor. We know the qualifications. Age 18, you have to be a resident and a citizen of the United States. I am here to work for the residents of Thornton Township. I'm a hard worker. I think we've already figured that out. I'm not mean. I haven't been bashing anyone. We need someone with a pure heart, pure mind, someone that could relate to all ages. And I'm here to carry our township for the next 4 years in the best light possible. And I'll hold myself accountable, so you guys don't have to hold me accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate Fields. Richard Nolan, your closing statement, please.
We are at a critical junction. We have to make a decision. Are we going to go backwards or are we going to move progressively forward? We have to have diversity within the Thornton Township. A lot of us, when we have a party, I like Neapolitan ice cream because it has all flavors, and you can choose. When you have different ethnicities at the table, there's a cultural balance that we need to have within the Thornton Township. If you look at our ticket, and on the advisory board, I have whites, I have blacks. On the advisory board, I have 2 Latinos. If you look at my opponent, it's 99% African American. Where is the diversity? Many people in different communities says, we've lost our voice. We're not important. Why aren't we at the table? So when I formulated this ticket, I wanted to make sure I represented the white, the black, and the brown, not just the Soul Patrol. And I want to say this in conclusion, that April the 1st, you have to make a decision. Either we're going to go backwards or we're going to move progressively forward. The People's Choice for Change will make a difference. We've already laid out our platform, what we're going to do: procurement officer, a FOIA officer. We're going to do an 8-year budget. Everybody that's on our team is qualified and has clean hands. Thank you for listening, and may God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll hear from Melanie Youngsma.
Thank you so much, candidates, for participating in this forum and giving our community a chance to hear from you directly. And thank you, community, for submitting your questions and for viewing online. You are engaging in the democratic process, and that is so important for a community like ours in times like these. We hope you have the information you need in order to vote confidently. Early voting options are available through Monday, March 31, and Election Day is Tuesday, April 1. This concludes the forum for the Thornton Township Supervisor candidates. We're going to take a short break and bring in the Thornton Township Trustee candidates. That forum will start at 5:30. Thank you for watching, and we will be back soon.
All right.
Good job, Richie.
Thank you, John.
Back to the polls.
Yep.
All right, thank you guys for having me.
very much, Nate.
Did the best I could, you know. Palms sweaty. That's all good. I'll see y'all later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
I want to mention something to you really quick. I'm glad you talked about the importance of FOIA. It's been frustrating.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to look into the, and I don't know how much it costs. Homewood has a really cool system now. It's more automated. It's got an online submission of FOIA requests and a very prompt response. And the system keeps all FOIA requests and response available. So if somebody puts in a FOIA request
Wait for Justin to get
And the
ready.
tech guy, camera guy.
Make sure we're all set.
It's hard to coordinate 4 cameras. Is that a thumbs up?
Give him a sec. Okay.
All right. Thank you for your patience, everyone. My name is Melanie Youngsma. I'm publisher of the Lansing Journal. This is part 2 of the Thornton Township Candidate Forum that we are live streaming. This is being co-hosted by 3 local newspapers. We have Amethyst Davis of the Harvey World Herald and Eric Crump of the Homewood Flossmoor Chronicle, and then Carol and myself from the Lansing Journal. Part 1 of this forum was for the supervisor candidates, and that was also live streamed. It might be on our channel already. Part 2 will now focus on the Thornton Township trustee candidates, right after this phone call. This forum is somewhat different in that no members of the public are present in the room with us. The public is attending virtually. At the time when we had to make arrangements for the forum, there was a lot of uncertainty about who and how many might be participating. So we chose to minimize the possibility of chaos and keep the audience virtual. I will remind our viewers again that our townships are served by 8 elected officials, a supervisor, 4 trustees, a clerk, an assessor, and a highway commissioner. These elected officials all serve 4-year terms, so every 4 years, all of them are up for re-election. This forum has been focused on the supervisor and trustee candidates because they are the voting members of the board, and the board is the decision-making body of the administration. Voters will see 12 trustee candidates on their ballots this year for Thornton Township. We extended an invitation to all 12 of those candidates. 5 accepted our invitation, 3 made it, and we're hoping that the others still arrive, but the others did not respond. So let me introduce the people who are here. We have, to my right, Dominique Randall L., a Democrat, 5th Ward Alderman for the city of Harvey. We have Carl Dombrowski, a business owner and resident of Lansing, and he is part of the Republican Party. And we have Keisha Richardson, who has experience in corporate finance as well as owning her own business, and she is a resident of Riverdale, also a member of the Republican Party. The questions we will be asking these candidates come from our experience as journalists covering not just township news, but news that impacts our individual communities. And we invited community members to submit questions, and we appreciate those that came in. Those are mixed into this forum as well. The candidates have not been provided any of these questions ahead of time. This is a forum, not a debate, so not every candidate will answer every question. The moderators will be clear about who's being asked to provide an answer, and it is Carol and Amethyst who will be moderating this section of the forum. Candidates, you will be given a time limit for each of your answers, and you'll be able to see the timer as it counts down. When you see the timer hit 0 or you hear the chime, make sure you complete your answer. Thank you all for taking on the challenge of running for public office and for making yourselves accessible to Thornton Township voters through this forum. Let's begin.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for that introduction. Good evening, candidates. You'll be introducing yourself as a candidate all tonight, but let's start with introducing yourself personally. Please talk about who you are, what you do for work, your family, etc. You'll each have 1 minute. Dominique Randall, you're first.
First of all, let me start off by thanking you for the opportunity. I appreciate you doing this to further the process and give all of the residents an opportunity to get to know the candidates. So my name is Dominique Randall. I'm 38 years old. I've been married for almost 20 years. I have a beautiful wife and 3 children. I currently live in the city of Harvey, where I was born and raised. I'm a business owner. I own a trucking company, and of course, I'm the alderman, the 5th Ward alderman for the city of Harvey. What else should you know about me? I am a Christian. I'm a strong believer in God. Faith is the way I walk and think. I put him in front of everything that I do. Nothing that I do is on my own. I believe that I should trust in him and allow him to lead and guide me. That's pretty much Dominique Randwell.
Thank you very much. Next, Keisha Richardson.
Hi there, I'm Keisha Richardson. I'm a resident of Riverdale, have been for 2 years, combined resident of Thornton Township for 8 years. I lived in Homewood for 6. I am a mother of 5 grown adult children, grandmother of 4. I have 20 years of extensive experience in financial management, specializing in portfolio management, trust accounting, securities accounting, asset management, as well as corporate capital markets. I also have worked for 5 years in the nonprofit sector as office manager of NPCA, and also I'm a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for 8 years. I also sit on the board of a nonprofit organization called New Soul Wellness, where we provide medical pedicures for seniors and for people who have limited funds. And that's it. That's my time.
That's your time. Thank you very
All right.
much. And finally, Carl Dombrowski.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank the Lansing Journal and the Harvey World Herald and the Homewood Flossmore for having this forum. I think it's very important. My name is Carl Dombrowski. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I've lived in Thornton Township for 46 years, starting in Burnham, Calumet City, and the past 41 years here with my wife, and I raised 2 sons in Lansing. I ran my moving business here for 15 years, and then the past 28 years, I've been sales manager in the moving and storage industry. Currently, I still run a small trucking business out of Lansing. I served 6 years as parent board president for the Merit School of Music in Chicago. It's a not-for-profit music conservatory. They serve about 5,000 Chicago public school children, and and then also the Merit School Conservatory. So, thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Though there are 3 different platform options that will appear on voters' ballots, only 2 of those are represented here tonight. 2 of our candidates are running as Republicans. They're Republicans running as the People's Choice for Change, and 1 is running as part of the Reformed Thornton Township Party. You'll each have 1 minute to speak to the big picture of your platform and your agenda in running as trustees. I will begin with Keisha Richardson. You can step to the podium.
Okay, so repeat the question one more
Yes,
time.
so I didn't ask it.
Oh,
Jump the
okay.
gun. Yeah, I got you. You've said that you want to expand and enhance the services offered by the township. How do you respond to people who feel that the township is an unnecessary form of government and that those services should instead be handled by municipalities?
Well, I believe that with the township and the duties of the township, I think that it's still necessary for us to oversee those services and not just by municipalities. I think we have a broader reach. Of course, we have a bigger budget to help with those resources, and then we also, can have a broader outreach as well. So we do want to expand and enhance the current services that we have, but we also want to restore some services as well.
All right, thank you for your response.
Thank you.
Carl Dombrowski, this is for you.
Same question?
No, it's a different question.
Okay.
It's a different question. Having coached Lansing Little League for 16 years, what specific ideas do you have for supporting youth within Thornton Township?
I think we do need to expand some youth programs, with with the young people here. I mean, I know a lot of baseball programs have diminished in some of the communities, but also, you know, there's a chance to, you know, to open up things and have more activities for youth. The biggest thing is, you know, keeping youth occupied so, you know, so they don't get in trouble. I mean, and then you have good role models, you have people coaching, and, you know, and the structure of teamwork, so. Thank you.
Dominique Randall.
Yes.
Hi. Absence from board meetings has been a point of concern within Thornton Township. How will you ensure active participation in township meetings and other forms of public engagement?
Just so I'm clear, you mean for the elected officials?
Yes.
Honestly, I'm always honest. I can't make an elected official, we're all adults, come to a meeting. I think that what we can do is use our powers to censor or to provide some form of correction. We can create those resolutions or corrections in there to kind of have, I guess, what you would call a modern day attendance policy to kind of say, hey, you've missed this amount of days and it's not okay. And to also make that known to the public, because the real boss is the public. It's not, none of our bosses are present over here if we're all elected together. That happens on election day, but if the public knows that you have a tendency to skip work on a continuous basis, then maybe they'll change their vote next time. All we can do is, you know, make that known to the public and allow them to make that choice in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. While the township supervisor presides over township meetings, trustees make up the majority of the voting body. As a trustee, you'll be tasked with participating in a system of checks and balances. As Illinois Township rules indicate, no one official operates in a vacuum. This will be a question for all of you, and I'll let you know the order. What will you do to prepare for township board meetings and the decisions that will be made there? How will you research and get your questions answered? And Dominique Randall, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So I think I heard a two-part question. How will I prepare and
what kind of research will you do to get questions answered?
I believe you start with the supervisor. I've learned that with the mayor. I want to know what was your intention with having this on the agenda. What was the goal? What were you trying to accomplish? And then from there, you also, I mean, it's a lot easier for me because I live in a ward, but I reach out to residents and I say, hey, this is on the agenda. What do you think about it? This is the goal. This is what, you know, the mayor is trying to accomplish, or this is what a member of city council is trying to accomplish. And you just try to understand it from that perspective. Depending on what it is, you can also look at state law, what's being done in other communities. I've used, as a legislator in Harvey, I've used a lot of things that came from other cities. I'll look and see what Lansing's doing. How successful has that been for them to implement something, or to get an idea on how to deal with an issue that's going on in the city. I may say, well, let's see what's going on in Homewood. Let's see, you know, how this particular city is doing that. And it's very easy to do, to go and look through their ordinances and kind of see how they're dealing with it. That's the kind of how I research.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. Keisha Richardson, the same question to you. How will you prepare for meetings, do research, and get questions answered?
I would review old agendas, the current agendas, ask the community about their involvement, any issues that they have, study the budget, what we have. Well, the budget usually carries over into the following year, but we look at the budget of each department. So whatever the issues are for that particular meeting, I would review those, review documents, and again, review issues that the community may have or that we have had in the past. So it's mostly about just reviewing documents, engaging with the community to see what their issues are, and being prepared for that meeting.
Great, thank you. And Carl Dombrowski, what research and preparation will you do for meetings?
The biggest thing is asking why, or, you know, when something is, brought in front of us to vote on, to having the material ahead of time to look over, to make sure that, it's something that is going to be an essential service and that's something that's going to be feasible for within the budget that we're looking for. The biggest thing is not just, rubber stamping anything that comes across and, to know what you're voting on. And I'm a person that asks the question why and what's the purpose and what's going to be the goal for these proposals and how is it going to come out in the end. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. You can actually remain at the podium. I'm sorry. This next question is actually going to start with you. How do you anticipate effectively interacting with their peers, regardless of their political views or affiliations on the board, especially in times of intense political polarization?
I have no problem working with anybody on any side. Everybody has their views and points, and everybody's voice is important. I'm not one-sided. I will listen to everybody's opinion, and but also I will form my own opinion. Even if our whole slate got elected into there, once again, I'm not I'm not one to follow the crowd. I will be objective as to what's put in front of us, and and check with the community and see what their feelings are too, and make my own decision on items that are brought in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. Dominique Randolel, it's the same question for you. How will you work effectively with others regardless of political affiliation or views?
Thank you. First of all, I think it's important to remember that this is a job. And I know that every job I've ever been on, I haven't liked everyone, but I understood the point of us being there, and it's to achieve a goal. We're here to take care of business. I don't have to like you. I don't have to care for you, but we have to take care of the roles that we have been hired to do and learn to work together to achieve whatever that goal, which is serving Thornton Township. This is not personal, it's business. So for me, how do I deal with it? I check my attitude at the door, I come in, and I do my role as a trustee. That's how I do it. This is not personal. I don't believe, and I've seen situations like that where there's a lot of mudslinging and all that. I wasn't raised that way. If you hire me as a trustee, I'm gonna come in as a trustee. I don't care what party you're with. I don't care whether you're male or female. None of that matters. We're here to do a job. Do the job.
Thank you. Keisha Richardson, how will you work across difference in political views?
Well, I believe that as a township trustee, your leadership style is very important. I believe that it should be community focused, and it should also be about inclusion. And as Dominique mentioned, you're not going to all agree. Even in a family, you're not going to all agree, but you have to be open-minded about what the issues are and try to find the best solution for what the issues are. I believe that even communicating and collaborating with the residents, there are going to be people who don't like me, but you still have to have some kind of decorum about yourself in order to be able to, engage with other people who have differences. And it's a lot about interpersonal skills and communication. When you have that, then you have the ability to do that. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer.
Thank you, candidates. A lot has transpired in the past 3 years in Thornton Township. We all know that. So this question is going to be for all of you. What will you do if you see the supervisor isn't running the township correctly? In light of everything that has transpired, how can you prevent this from happening again? Carl Dombrowski, we'll start with you, please.
This was a sore spot. That's why I decided to run for this position. I feel that with everything that was going on in Thornton Township, there was nobody speaking out. I'm disappointed with our state officials, from the governor down, that something wasn't done to call out the items that were not being, that were right in front of people. I mean, at this point, they should have said something and brought to the attention and spoke out against stuff that truly they knew where things were going wrong. So, thank you.
Thank you. Keisha Richardson, we'll ask you to answer this one next, please.
And can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. So what will you do if you see the supervisor isn't running the township correctly? How can you prevent what has happened in the recent past from happening again?
Okay, so a part of taking the oath, I believe that accountability is essential. And even in my role as trustee, if I'm witnessing behaviors that go against the trust of the township, I have to speak up because that is my duty. And I'm not sure who the proper channels are to report that to, but I believe in honesty and transparency and being accountable in your own role. If I saw my trustees, doing something that was, against proper protocol, I would report it. I would report it because we want to have the trust of the community. That's what's lacking right now. That's what's lacking right now. So we have to restore the trust of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dominique Randall, same question.
Ooh,
Sorry.
she did that on purpose.
I'm sorry.
Well, you definitely speak out. I think seeing a supervisor do something that I think you said not running the town correctly, it's a real broad spectrum. But I will say this. You definitely speak out, and I think the issues that I observed was not just speaking out, but it's how we speak out. You have to remember that we still represent Thornton Township, so we need to do so in a very professional manner. So I'm definitely going to speak out, and I can tell you more of what I wouldn't do. We're not going to shut down the township. We're not going to not come to meetings. I'm just not going to do that because the people still are looking for us to work. I'm not going to stop working because the supervisor's not working. I still have to work. I still have to represent. I still have a job to do. So I handle everything, at least I try to always handle things in a professional manner. It's not easy, but that's the way we need to do it in order to continue to represent Thornton Township in a positive way.
Thank you. Some have called for a forensic audit of the township's finances going back years, but others argue that a forensic audit in itself would cost a large amount of money. What's the value of looking backward financially? Is it necessary in order to rebuild trust with residents? Mr. Randall, you're first this time.
How far back are we talking?
Pardon me?
How far back are we talking?
That's the question.
Then in that case, I don't see a value in it. Up until these last couple of years, Thornton Township, they've won Township of the Year how many times in a row? There was no problem here in Thornton Township. It was once looked at by the governor and many other people from other states as one of the best townships, not only in the state of Illinois, but in some other states. So unless there's something that someone's pointing a finger to directly, don't get me wrong, mismanagement is always wrong. The mismanagement of funds is wrong. But what I've learned, nobody's going to jail for it. What ends up happening is the residents have to speak up and say, you mismanage our resources, we don't like your spending, you won't be here anymore. Period. That's what needs to happen. So do I think, and forensic audits do cost them a lot of money. We've had one at Harvey. So if you're going to spend that type of money, I think we need to have a really good reason of what we believe is going on and what they're looking for.
Thank you for that answer. Keisha Richardson, you're next. What's the value in looking back with a possible forensic audit?
I think that there is value in that. I do realize that it will cost a significant amount of money. But we need to know where the bones are buried to move forward. I understand what Dominique is saying, that we could start now and then just move forward, but we need to know where the holes are, because there can still be people that are in place that work in the township who have allowed the mismanagement of the funds as well. So we need to know the history behind it. I do believe we should go at least 2 terms back, at least 8 years. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Carl Dombrowski, same question, please.
So part of our platform is, this has all been discussed between the candidates that I'm running with, I'm a little bit on the fence on the forensic audit. I think we need to look and see where the funds are right now and when we get in there. Going back years and years, I think it may be a waste of money to try to go back that far and at this point, what goal are we going to come to at that? I think until we get in there and take a look and see what the funds are, what the current budget is, what the projected budgets are, I would like to hold off, answering, whether a forensic audit is going to be, totally necessary. I'm open to it, but even though it's part of our platform, I do have some different opinions on it. So, thank you.
Thank you for that response. The next question sort of builds upon this conversation about spending in a sense. Keisha Richardson, we'll begin with you. How will you reassess the budget moving into the new administration? And what other steps would you suggest to ensure the township's future financial health?
How would I reassess the current budget?
Into the new administration.
Okay. So again, the budget is going to transfer over to the next year, the amounts. It's always room for reallocation, though. So we want to look at the spending that's happening in each department and then see where we may be able to add or take away some of the spending to put it towards other services, perhaps. So definitely we will review all the spending in all of the departments and see where we can kind of reallocate those funds. And what was the second part of the question?
And what other steps do you think are needed to ensure future financial health for the township?
Well, definitely oversight. Most definitely oversight. I think that's the most important component of it. I know a part of our platform is the procurement officer and the corporate loss manager. I think with that oversight, that will also help prevent further mismanagement and overspending.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carl Dombrowski, it's the same question. How will you reassess the budget moving into the new admin, and what other steps are needed to ensure the township's future financial health?
So I pulled up, I've been studying the budget since I decided to run for trustee. As of right now, I was comparing from past years and what the current budget is and what the projected budgets are. I have a lot of questions as far as, why budgets are going up 100%, 500%, 1,000% from what was spent before. I was always taught, and unless there's a major project, budgets should not vary that greatly. And so I think we need to look into, what the projected costs are, and why there's so much of a change and, in going up and, so. Part of the thing is too, I looked at, tried to pull up even just in this past week, the website, which is down, so, thank you.
Thank you. Dominique Brandello, the same question.
Much of it is said, and tonight I agree with on this particular topic. You start with the current budget, you look at the current spending, and I would look at the spending, look at the budget, compare the two, see where we're looking at the high end and where we may look for the wasteful things that we can cut, and then start thinking about reallocating to certain areas that have been maybe have lost attention, due to misspending in other areas. So I would start with the budget, look at the spending, then you compare the two. And for example, if I see that, the private security that was going around had, cost this much money and it was taken away from the senior programs, then we cut that and shift that money back to where it needs to go. So I think you take the two, put them together and do math. That's how I would reallocate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone. Okay, let's talk more about finances, fiscal responsibility, and maybe even some tax policy just for fun. Thornton Township trustees help manage millions of dollars in spending. So many questions remain about the true state of the township's finances. What are ways to make the township's financial activity more accessible and transparent to the public? Carl Dombrowski, you're first this time.
Well, to make it more transparent, we need to, look at what, at what is projected for spending, for the projects. To try to make these things efficient and publish them with the town. So, I know they come out at quarterlies. We need to publish this and and show the people in the town where this money is actually being spent and that it is being spent efficiently. So, thank you.
Thank you. Keisha Richardson, you're next to talk to us about accessible and transparent information, financial information for the public.
Okay. I know that we have discussed this before on my slate. We are looking into a program, and it may be more so as an app where you can see what's happening with the finances in real time. And so that is definitely transparency for the residents to be able to go in, see what's happening with the budget, what's being spent, and then also as far as accessibility, making sure we have a website that works and that they have the ability to go in and find out that information without any issues.
Thank you. And Dominique Randall.
One more time. I know you said it twice. One more time.
Oh, sure. So what are some ways to make the township's financial activity more accessible and transparent to members of the public?
Okay, I believe transparency starts with making sure the information is correct. Anybody can put anything on the website, and that's the trustee's job, to make sure anything that's on a website, in a flyer, whatever, we need to make it to be correct for it to truly be transparent. Secondly, I think if we want to make it accessible, we have to remember that Thornton Township ranges from, here to here in age, and I've seen that as an alderman. I have some of my seniors are saying, "No, alderman, I don't." I'm like, "Did you go on the website? We posted on the website." Oh, I'm not going on no website, so they'll never get it. And no offense, if you create an app, they'll never get it. So if we can spend money on all these different areas, if we truly want to make it transparent, we need to make sure it's correct, and we need to make it accessible on every single level possible. It's okay to get that little card and write down, this was the income, this was the outcome expenditures, and throw it in the mail so that your senior can see it too. We just can't forget about them.
Thank you.
Dominique Randall, you already sat down. My apologies. We'll start with you first.
My leg's still young.
Okay. And this question builds off of financial activity, and specifically to mean spending. Employee credit card spending, specifically at the township, has spurred a lot of questions. Are you in favor of establishing a central requisition and purchasing department to eliminate the use of multiple credit cards by township department heads? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Is that all you want? You just want yes or no? Or you want a reason?
Elaborate.
Oh, yes or no. You can't have, everybody can't have access. I mean, that's once again, it's hard to to have accountability and transparency if everybody has access to just kind of do things willy-nilly. I mean, you can't. You need to be able to have some control where you can streamline spending, and this goes beyond spending. You want to streamline something. You know, everybody doesn't get a credit card. Everybody doesn't, get a gas card. Everybody doesn't. You don't do it that way. And I think the township is in a way better situation than my own city, to where they can have those type of options. Just have a central station. If you need something, let us know. We'll get it to you. We'll have it delivered. We'll have it available where you can go pick it up. Whatever. Everybody doesn't need a credit card.
Thank you. Keisha Richardson, same question. Do you support a central requisition and purchasing division to eliminate multiple credit card usage by township department heads? Yes, no, Marlon?
No. I think that each department head should have a credit card, and they should have a limit to it. If it exceeds that limit, then the procurement officer has to be the one that decides if they need to overspend in whatever area it is. I think at a township level, it's too big to just have one centralized department for that. I think each department head should have their own, but at a limit.
Thank you for your response. Carl Dombrowski,
The same question?
same question.
So I agree with Richard Nolan. He brought up that we need a procurement officer to overlook, spending on, credit cards. There has to be a limit, and also, receipts and, expenditures need to be turned in at a timely basis, so you can look at it and, we have a good accounting of what's being spent. Not 6 months down the line, not, there has to be a time limit as to if an expense is needed, then, there needs to be receipts turned in, and, they need to be overseen, to make sure. And definitely, there does need to be a spending limit, as far as to what they're allowed to spend at any given point on the credit card. So, but yes, they do. We still, as far as for accessibility, yes, I think they still need access to credit cards. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. According to the last verified financial report of the township, and several before it, the township's 3 major funds all show a positive fund balance. Meanwhile, some of the township residents say they are drowning in property taxes. Would you consider or commit to holding the tax levy steady in the next fiscal year? Keisha Richardson, you're first.
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Would you commit to a 0 tax levy increase in the next fiscal year is really the question.
I can't answer that question. I'm not as well versed in tax levies. I know that once being in the role of trustee, I would learn more. But just to be honest, I can't answer that question well because I don't think that I'm as well versed in it. That's my honest answer.
Thank you for that honest answer. Dominique Randall, you're next. Will you commit to holding the tax levy steady, a 0% tax levy in the next fiscal year?
The short answer is yes. In 8 years of the alderman, I have never raised taxes. Actually, the city of Harvey has never raised taxes. I would even want to consider at some point. I can't say without looking at everything to see, do we really need to maintain that? I really think that the township is here to serve those communities and serve the resident. And if we're doing that effectively and we don't have a plan, then we really should be thinking about a decrease. Do we really need to sit here with, I don't know what the overages were, with $20 million in the bank account? You know, do we really need that, or can we cut taxes and maybe now we can give the resident of Thornton Township a tax cut, and now we got $10 million in the bank next year as a result of that. So I truly believe it's their money anyway. Oh God, it's not enough time.
Think about it for your closing statement. Thank you for that answer. Carl Dombrowski, same question. Will you commit to holding the tax levy steady and not adding any taxes in the next fiscal year?
My first responsibility is when we get, when we do get into the Thornton Township government here, is to see if those figures are actually true. Long and short, yes, I do. I don't think there should be any more taxes, being put forward towards the homeowners in Thornton Township. I've seen my my assessment on my house go up 100%. I mean, my taxes has doubled, and I don't think the spending, that Thornton Township, if what is true, if it's true that we do have a positive number, we do need to put a stop on the burden of the homeowners and more taxes. So, thank you.
Thank you for that answer.
So these next questions are about township board salaries. They're open to anyone. They are optional. If you would like to answer, you can just raise your hand, step to the podium, and you will have 30 seconds to respond. Township trustees receive a salary, but being a trustee is not a full-time job. How many hours should a trustee be putting into the office? Anyone can open, it's optional, anyone can answer.
I would say is you go with the supervisor on this one. I mean, what I typically do is I will call up to the mayor and say, hey, how can I help? And he was like, well, if you can go over here, we got a call, from Miss Rogers, and she wants somebody to come look at this tree. That's probably, can you take a couple of pictures, make sure you get over to the street department? Can you go check with them and let them know this is what we're doing? We have some residents that are, hearing impaired and things like that. So when those things happen, then we try to find other resources, working with our senior services. There's a lot that we could do.
Thank you.
You're asking how many hours. I mean, that's, that was your specific question, right?
What does the time commitment look like for a trustee?
So, I mean, I came into this not thinking about, I know there's going to be a lot of work that's going to go into this, and I'm not even thinking about how many hours that are put into it. I intend to to invest the time and effort into making sure that I'm doing this job properly. If somebody's coming into it and saying that I'm going to spend 5 hours doing this job a month, then they shouldn't be running for this position. So,
Thank you for that response.
Kind of to piggyback off of Carl, I don't think that there's a certain amount of hours that should be stated. When committing to this position, you know that you're coming in part-time, but you don't know what level of commitment is going to be as far as time restraints. So you have to be flexible. You have to be available to do the job and the duties that are included in that role. So I don't really have a number to put to that.
You can continue your sentence. It looked like you were.
I did.
just
I don't have a number to put to that, but I believe that whatever level of work that you need to put into it to make your job efficient, to work with the community, then you should do it.
Okay, thank you.
So thinking about the salary for trustees, the salary structure for trustees awards an increase for each consecutive term in office. For example, the salary for a first-term trustee is $11,195, while a trustee entering an eighth term would receive $41,540. Using these as examples, what changes, if any, do you think should be made to this kind of salary structure for trustees? And this is a question for anyone.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that one. just even working in corporate America, you know, you have your tenure, so you expect a raise every year. But then on the other side, we're doing the same job as trustee, and I kind of think that maybe the salary should just be the same. So I'm a little bit on the fence with that.
That's fair enough. Thank you for that answer. Anyone else like to answer? Carl Dombrowski.
I think they probably should set us, you know, the raises, you know, should be within reason. I mean, you know, and realistically, I've never even looked at what the salary is for this position. I know that, you know, there's going to be work to go along with this, but, you know, I've seen that, you know, I've seen a little bit of the increases. I think they should be a little bit more stable and, you know, and not, you know, not double and triple, you know. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks so much for those answers.
Moving on to ethics reform, which for a lot of folks, I think is at the top of their minds within Thornton Township. Thornton Township has seen so much criticism about spending, hiring practices, and public communication. The first question is for all of you. What are examples of ethics reform policies that you would advocate for? And how would you ensure implementation and evaluation? Keisha Richardson, we'll begin with you.
Okay. And repeat the question again
Yes.
for me.
Examples of ethics reform policies you would advocate for as a trustee, and how would you ensure their implementation and evaluation?
Okay, so ethics reform policies. I believe that, first of all, you have to be an ethical person. That's most important, with the transparency and honesty. As far as reform, I'm just not absolutely certain what that would even look like on this level. I'm not sure, so I can't really answer the question the way that I would like to answer it, because I'm just not certain about what that would look like as far as ethic reform. I know as far as being an ethical person, I know that's different. I can speak on that, but not ethics reform.
Okay, thank you. Dominique Randall, ethics reform policies to advocate for and ensuring implementation and evaluation.
I've seen some examples that concern me. Family members working in the same department would be something that I definitely would not approve of. I believe that we need to also make sure that we're hiring residents of Thornton Township first. I've seen that as being an issue as well. And it's the same theory. You care about your home. And so I want us to hire within Thornton Township as a part of our policy. How to make sure it's implemented, I think we do that all together. I think all the trustees come together to ensure that. And we make it where it's okay for employees to speak out and say, hey, I just found out, you know, this is such and such brother. They're working together. Like, no, they may work for the township, but we can't have them in the same department because that creates the wrong environment, in my opinion. At times, I'm not saying always, but at times, and as a safety measure, it shouldn't really be allowed.
Thank you for your response. Carl Dombrowski.
The supervisor and trustee positions shouldn't be something for you advancing you and your families. It shouldn't be, you know, the supervisor position shouldn't be something that, you know, that your face is going to be on everything and you know and advancing. I think we need, you know, to rein in the spending, and once again, if there's, you know, if there's you know, some training that we're going to have to go through, you know, it should be, you know, as far as flights and transportation should be budgeted in as far as for, you know, for the most efficient and, you know, and cost-effective way to do this. And so in answer to your question, you know, spending needs to be curbed and, you know, items need to be looked at, on a one-on-one basis as far as what's needed, and and instead of spending money just randomly. So.
Thank you. These next questions really talk about or tug at the issue of trust within Thornton Township. Alderman Dominique Ranella will begin with you. Some of the criticisms plaguing Harvey, where you serve as 5th Ward Alderman, are the same as those afflicting Thornton Township, namely the lack of financial transparency. The City Council and Mayor's Office have also received criticism over delinquent audits, canceling public comment, and using police intimidation to suppress public dissent. Why should Thornton Township residents trust your leadership?
As far as I know, you didn't say my name and none of that. I wouldn't. I don't think I should be held accountable for anything you. And I'm just answering your question. I'm not responsible for what another person does. We have the same kind of government, but the thing is, I can't cross lines. I don't control the police department. I don't control public works. I don't control any of those departments. All I can do is make a request. If somebody tells me they illegally dumped in my alley, all I can do is the same thing they can do. I just do it for them most of the time. It's called public work and say, hey, 148th and Ashland, Miss Newell is saying they're dumping in her alley. I'm not the one. I didn't call and not that I agree with all this, but I'm just going to answer it. I didn't put anybody out of a meeting. I didn't call the police in because I don't control them. These are other things that I'm responsible for, so there's no way I could be held responsible for them. Okay.
Thank you for that answer. Carl Dombrowski. In the Southland, some politicians have been accused of serving the party more than the people. What are some ways you and your party will demonstrate your commitment to public service over the group that you're affiliated with?
I feel a party affiliation shouldn't have anything to do with anything. I mean, I'm going in there as a Republican. Unfortunately, the state is being run, by most Democrats. I don't expect that if I get into office here that I'm going to be ignored because I'm a Republican or so stated as far as my party affiliation. I think we should all help each other. And once again, this is where even what we just went through with this past supervisor, even though that the party, she's part of the Democratic Party, they should have still stepped up and called out things, and so as far as I'm not looking at race. I'm not looking at at a political party. Everybody should work together for the better of all the citizens here in Thornton Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Keisha Richardson, we've got a question for you. How can you be involved in a culture shift to bring the board back to a continuously functioning state?
How can I be involved with the culture shift?
In a culture shift, yes, away from where we've been
Yeah.
to hopefully somewhere more effective.
Okay. Well, as you see, our slate is very diverse. That's number one. And the township as a whole is very diverse. So with the outreach, initiatives that we want to put in place, we want to bring all of the residents together to talk about their issues or anything that they want to bring to the table. And as far as the board, us working together, whether we agree or we disagree, we just want to really come together and unify the people of the township, because it's kind of separated a little bit. The current administration, it kind of focuses on, other communities. Some communities are thriving more than others, and we want all of the communities to thrive.
Thank you.
It's okay. Finally, we're going to turn our attention to community engagement and public participation. As part of the Open Meetings Act, the board allows public comment during meetings, but that's just the bare minimum, right? How can you go above and beyond to engage residents, understand their frustrations, and develop tangible solutions as a trustee? Keisha Richardson, yeah, let's start with you.
So one of the, it's not on our platform, but we are adding it. We are going to have a community outreach ambassador. So we would like for that person to go to the different township meetings, or in the municipalities. We want them to go and engage with the community to let them know about the services that the township offers. And in collaboration, we want to see what's going on in their cities or villages, and also we want to let them know what's going on as a township as a whole. So that's one of the initiatives of community outreach. I know that we want to have a satellite office for veterans now, so that they don't have to go all the way to the west side to take care of their affairs. I think that's the most important one, was the community outreach ambassador, and just to be able to reach everyone in all 17 municipalities.
Right on the dot. Thank you for your response. Carl Dombrowski? Going above and beyond community engagement.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
How will you go above and beyond in terms of community engagement?
So, once again, we did talk about our platform, including an ambassador to go out and reach out to different groups in the area and to see. Plus, not only that, what I would think that we should do is we should have a website that we could have people respond and ask questions and even bring those up during the meeting, and really truly listen to residents, and maybe even have a meeting a month. At one of the meetings, set aside time that we do have a discussion with the residents, and they could bring up their concerns, and and we could realistically look at these and see if we could do something to help the residents, and truly listen to them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dominique Rendello, to finish us off, going above and beyond the call of duty in terms of community engagement.
A lot of it has been said. My idea would be, especially with the trustees, 2-3 of us holding different forums in different areas, so that the residents can have more time. I also think public hearings on key issues are very important to have, so we can get their input versus just passing things and then telling them about it later. And this person like, well, I didn't know you all were doing this. So if we split up and you say, I'm going to Robbins, and so then Harvey can come to Robbins if they want to hear, and that person come there, and then maybe we send somebody over here, and then we can get the word out a lot better. But having public hearings allow the residents to come in and express themselves without a time limit, and to ask questions and get answers right away. So I think that's a great way to really do it. The whole key point is, to be transparent, to educate, and to give them an opportunity to respond and communicate.
Great, thank you. Well, we're going to be wrapping up just slightly early. I want to thank all of the candidates for the time that you've spent here providing thoughtful answers to questions that are on the minds of community members. It's time now for your closing statements. You'll each have 1 minute and 30 seconds. The time is yours to use for whatever you want your closing statement to be, but we encourage you to keep this question in mind as you form your answer. Why would Thornton Township be better if you were elected trustee? Carl Dombrowski, we'll start with you.
If I get elected trustee, you have my commitment that I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to turn away from anything. I'm also going to be a watchdog for how our money is being spent. I'm not going to be a rubber stamp for anything that's being put in front of us. I'm going to make sure that, everything that, that comes across, my plate here, gets looked at and, and objectively thought out, I want the Thornton Township residents to know what kind of services we have to offer. I think it's lacking that that a lot of the residents here don't even know what the Thornton Township stands for and what we can offer to the residents. And I think we need to put out more than that. The newspapers, you do a great part in this, and I commend you for putting out things, and I think more stuff needs to be put out, about what the township is doing and what we could do for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate the newspaper shout out for sure. Dominique Randall, you're next.
All right. Once again, thank you all for having me. I thank everyone who took the time out to tune in to the live stream and supporting this initiative. How will Thornton Township be better with me? Well, my hope and my prayer is that I have a great team of people who understand why we're here, because one person can't turn the township around. But my role in that would be keeping us focused on why we're here, which is to be about the business of serving the residents of Thornton Township. In addition to that, I believe I do have a proven track record of doing just that. Harvey's not great, but we begin to turn over the leaf. And I would like to think I had a pretty good hand in doing that, along with the mayor and his team as well. We built a lot of public trust from the previous administration that came before us, and it's showing. We hear a lot of great things from residents, and it's not just that. It's been state reps. It's been all of those that were invested in that, and so it takes a team. But I want to be a part of a team that wants to keep that at the forefront, not political parties, not where we come from. None of those things are important. What's important for me is our youth, our seniors, and the services that we can provide to them, because that's what we owe to them. That's what they pay for.
Thank you for that answer. Finally, Keisha Richardson.
All right. So first of all, I would really like to thank you for having me. This is my first time running for public office. So I am going to do my best in that role. I am a very honest person. I'm eager to answer any questions that people may have. I believe that true leadership starts with listening more than anything. I've been very present. I've been to every forum that has been. I try to engage on social media because I really do want to get the input of the residents. That's mostly important to me. I want to prioritize the needs of the residents and work to improve their quality of life, of course. And I want to make informed and fair and ethical decisions, even when they're difficult, because I know that there'd be some difficulty there. I do want to shout out my slate, because we do have the most detailed platform within all of the candidates. And we want to work very hard to restoring the trust and transparency and putting the needs of the residents first.
Thank you very much. Well, now we'll kick it over to Melanie, and just before she starts, I want to thank Justin Osby from the Harvey World Herald for all of his hard work in all of the technical aspects, the camera, the sound, everything tonight. So you're not seeing him right now because he's behind the camera, but thank you very much to Justin.
Yes, it's great to be able to collaborate with our fellow local newspapers. I believe the Homewood Flossmoor Chronicle set that culture of collaboration rather than competition that we all participate in now, and our communities benefit because of that. So we appreciate all of them being here and hosting this forum together. And we thank you, candidates, for showing up and for letting our community hear your voices, hear your views. We think that's important in an election season, and we appreciate you being here. Community, we hope that you now have the information you need in order to vote confidently. You do not have to vote for a full slate. You can choose any of the 4 trustees who made an impression on you tonight. You can choose, you don't have to stick to one party. You can pick and choose in whatever way works for you. Early voting options are available through Monday, March 31, right up to Election Day on Tuesday, April 1. Thank you for tuning in to watch this Thornton Township Candidate Forum. Both the Trustee Forum and the Supervisor Forum that we live streamed earlier will be available on all of our channels, the Lansing Journal, the Harvey World Herald, and the Homewood-Flossmoor Chronicle. Please like and subscribe to each of these channels, each of these local newspapers who are serving our community. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and we will see you at the polls.